All right. Okay. And we're live. So, all right. So we're just going to hang out here for the next few minutes and just let people get on. I mean, we do have, 4 minutes before people show up. So
Yes,
how are you
exactly.
today?
I'm doing great. And, just looking out there and I mean there's some big planetary changes on the whole entire process here. So looking out at the weather, realizing that, the farmer's almanac each year is
Hmm.
totally based on planetary alignments.
Oh, good point. And that's something that I do buy every year. And I always go through it and go through it when I give consideration to our gardens and what we're doing in the gardens.
That's right. But that's how they're able to make it up like a year in advance. And it's a level of astrology. I don't do it. I find it fascinating that there's, 80 million levels of astrology. And that's called astrometeorology,
Okay.
where they define weather or predict weather according to the planetary alignments.
Okay, interesting. I guess I can see that, and I probably kind of assumed it to some degree, but never really made the specific connection. I'm just going to pop up here. Let's get my banners. I'm just going to put for the moment magic. So I call this Magic in the Stars.
Which is a fantastic name.
Yeah, so I thought that would be fun. I see a few people popping on, so I'm just going to say hello, and if you're there, say hi, and remind everyone that you do have to allow StreamYard to show your name. Otherwise, I won't know who you are. And so I am going to grab that link out of the group. Let me go do that right now. And so maybe while I'm doing that, Holly, so you were, and we'll talk about this at the end, and I'll do like a formal introduction in a few moments when we start.
Right.
But you were talking about Astrology Day, so it might be interesting just to chat a little bit about that now and what's happening.
So even just coming back to the whole idea, I mean, we use the Gregorian calendar, which means, everybody uses January 1st as the beginning of a new
Mm,
year. Astrologers don't. We don't consider that the beginning of a new year. We consider when the sun transitions into the very first sign of the zodiac. That's called Aries.
yeah.
That's really the beginning of a year. And so it's always at what the general public calls the spring equinox.
Mm.
And so there's the International Astrology Day on that same day.
Ah,
Now, this year, that is the 20th, but which is a Monday. But on the 19th, which is the Sunday just before, the Halifax Library on Spring Garden Road is actually doing a big astrology day. And I'm there doing a talk. I'm doing the talk on why do we fall in love with the people we do? How does
ooh,
that
that's
show up in our
interesting.
chart? But there are two or three different astrologers doing, various talks. But that's when it is. It starts at 1 p.m. on March 19th.
Okay, awesome. My phone is beeping, so I'm going to turn that off right away. And we are right at 1 p.m. So we're going to get started here in just a second. And we'll talk a bit more about that at the end and make sure that people have the links. I see someone that is posted, hi, I started up StreamYard, but doesn't seem to be working. Can you see me? So I don't know who you are. So you'll have to post your name. If it's Sharon, I now see you. So she just popped in. So anyone who has the backstage pass is going to be in the waiting lounge, and then they're going to view the whole interview, and then I'll let them in at the end. So,
Oh,
that's Helena. Okay, so Helena, I'm going to send you the link. So let me do that. I figured I'd have a little bit of housekeeping here to do just to get us going. My other screen over here. Helena, I'm going to send that in Messenger for you, so you will have it. We'll do that right now. And there we go. Okay, so if you're joining by, okay, yeah, so that That's the same link. So if you're joining by StreamYard, you can click the link that we sent in the email. I just put it in Messenger. You will go into the waiting lounge. You won't be brought on screen yet, but you'll be able to view. So so just let me know if that's working for everyone, and if you can see this broadcast. All right, so we're going to get things started. If anybody gets stuck and they can't get in for the backstage pass, don't worry. I will make sure we get you in at the end. But welcome, 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 Holly.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited about this. And, so so first of all, if anyone doesn't know me, I guess I should tell everyone who I am. So, and I have these lovely little banners just to keep me in online. So I'm Marianne. I'm your spiritual hostess. What does that mean? That means I help you connect to your angels, your guides, that deeper part of yourself, your higher self. Basically, I'm helping you navigate through life by connecting to that deeper part of you that has all of the answers, all of the resources, everything you need. And I do that in a lot of ways. I do that by doing readings and channeling messages, and really just, whatever you need, I kind of just intuitively go in that direction. So part of my business model is interviewing those that know way more about stuff than me. And so that's where lovely Holly comes in talking about astrology. So I'm going to do a formal introduction in a moment, but I just wanted to share that. So Holly, I don't know when I met you the first time. Like, I feel like we interacted probably in different ways. But when I went back and looked at and listened to the reading from 2016, I had a tarot card reading from you at the Oak Island Inn for the women's retreat in 2016.
Yes, I was doing women's retreats for 20 some odd years from Oak Island.
Okay, wow. So Helena was there for that. I see, Helena, you got into the backstage, so I see you there. My sister was there with me as well. And so I did a tarot reading, and then I just loved you. And so then I went and had an astrology reading. And then it's been that many years that I've circled back and had another one with you. And we're going to get into that in a few moments. All right, let me introduce Holly. So again, if you're here, just say yes. Hi, I do have the comments up so that I can see you. You do have to allow Facebook to show your name, or I won't know who you are. But I can cheat a little bit by looking at Facebook over here, so I'll do that. And so Holly Poole is a professional astrologer with so I'm not an Master of Science in Healthology, right?
Health theology, yeah.
Okay, health theology. Okay, yep. Thank you. That makes more sense, theology. She understands astrologically how the planets are affecting each individual, as well as where life lessons are coming in. And I know that's something that's going to be very interesting to everyone. The world of astrology opened her up to entirely new ways of thinking, as well as a new venue for understanding the polarities that are happening within our world. We're very excited to hear more about that. And I love your theory, which is we learn best when we're having fun. So let's have fun. I have my cup of tea, so I'm in my tea mode. And I just want you to tell us a little bit about how you got into astrology. Let's start there.
Well, I guess it's kind of starts a long time ago. Growing up, I'm a Newfie, grew up in Newfoundland, and started being very connected to the church, even in Newfoundland. Had my own choir at 13 years of age, and then I played the organ. And so I was very much that side. Then in the very early 80s, I moved to Nova Scotia, where I actually became an atheist, to be honest. And then met my present husband, met him in 1985, and he had a Corvette. So we were on the way to a Corvette convention. He was driving. I was bored. So we stopped for he stopped for gas, and I ran in for a magazine. Well, there was Maclean's and there was Time, but, I was on vacation. I wasn't really in the work mode. And so they had an astrology magazine there. I don't think I actually even knew what sign I was at that point in time. Because again, growing up in the Christian mindset, astrology certainly wasn't top of the line. And inside of there, it talked about getting a degree in astrology. And I said to Herb, I think I'm going to apply for that. And just like in anything where, if they want you to learn how to draw, they need you to
Mhm.
draw a picture. So the International College of New York sent me this 100 true false questionnaire to see what my level of knowledge presently was. I totally went by intuition because I didn't know anything about astrology. So the questions were, the second earth sign in the zodiac is Virgo. Virgo, true or false? Mm, sounds true. The water element is about emotions. True, false? Sounds about right. True. Anyway, out of that, I came out with 95% out of 100 correct.
Wow.
And so they actually sent me a note and said, if you want to do classes with us, we will agree to pay half, you pay half, and you agree to teach for us for 5 years
Oh,
following.
that's so cool.
And that's how I fell
That's
into
awesome.
astrology.
Wow, that's very cool. I've never even heard of that being a thing. Like, you take a course and, we'll pay for it and that is
Yeah.
just the coolest
Yeah.
thing ever. What a great win-win.
Yes. And it
Wow.
was with the great Dr. Walter Coleman out of New
Yeah.
York. And again, this was before computer days. So it
Yes.
was a little ways back there. And he was a lawyer and out of New York. And he had the school there. So everything was done via correspondence. I would, read a booklet that he would send. He'd have a whole list of questions. I'd answer the questions, send it back to him. He would correct it and then send it again. But he had a full-time school there. And
Wow.
upon his passing, unfortunately, the school disintegrated.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. Yeah, didn't even know that exists. I think that's so awesome. So let me do just a little housekeeping because I try not to look away from you when we're talking, and I see
Okay.
we have people on that I can't see your names. So I'm putting the link in comments in Facebook in the Your Spiritual Hostess page. It's also in the event at the top. Just click on that, and then I will see who you are. So there, I just posted it there. That's the only thing with StreamYard. I can't see people's names unless they click on this. So there, I got that posted. And I'm going to post in one more place. So if you don't mind me just looking away and doing this
Oh,
while you talk, I'm going to get you to maybe we can start talking about the importance of astrology. Like, why do we care? Why does it matter? Tell us a little bit about why this is an important piece for us.
well, astrology actually was part of astronomy in the 1600s. We actually were under the one scientific umbrella. And then in the very early 1700s, astrologers, they felt, were getting into soothsaying. So telling fortunes or getting into doing readings. And
What did
so
you call it first? Soothsaying?
sooth, Sooth, soothsaying.
Oh,
And
soothsaying. Okay.
that's what they called, people who did readings and the witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. So,
Mm.
so we actually got booted out of the wording of science. Um, and really, in reality, the movement of the planetary alignment determines exactly what is going on the earth plane.
Mm.
And in Roman and Greek times, um, they all determine the planetary alignments as to whether they should even go to war or not. And pretty much the majority of the US presidents all had their own personal astrologer to determine when to actually do various things. So bringing it down to our meager selves, we use astrology, or I use astrology quite often to set up timings. How something starts is how something finishes. And so to
Mm.
set it up on the correct beginning timing it has a lot more of a chance of success than if you set it up on the negative side. You know, and some of the best times in life to begin brand new projects and so on is at a new moon. The new moon holds openings for beginning new projects. It's a new seed. We're planting that new
Mm.
seed there. And so like the new moon is when the moon and the sun hold the same degree, the same alignment. And then the moon moves faster than the sun. So then the moon continues on. And when the moon gets opposite to the sun, that's actually when we then get a full moon. And full moons give us clear vision. Now, we're not finished the project because the project won't be finished until we come back to the next new moon. But
Mm.
the full moon gives us the clarity. You know, the moon itself holds no light. I don't know if people realize that. When we look up and see the full moon, that is not the light of the moon. What we're actually seeing is the shining from the sun. And so when we have a new moon up there in the sky, when the sun and the moon hold the exact same degree and place in the sky, it is completely dark because there is no shining of the sun.
Mm.
And then as the moon goes on and we see the first quarter, that's the underside of the moon that the sun is shining on.
That's the most thorough description I think I've ever heard of that. So, and I love the visual with the hands. So that was very cool. Yeah, and I love that you talked about. So I wrote down. So often I'll hear something and I'm like, oh, I just have to write that down. How
Sure.
something starts is how something finishes.
Correct.
And I love that. And one of the things that I do in my readings, and I do yearly intention readings at the beginning of the year, and I build in numerology. So I'm looking at what year are we in
Right.
globally, 2023, personal year. I know you and I talked about that.
Yep.
How are you aligning with it? Because I feel like, where we're going to get the best bang for our buck in the year. And then you're taking it on a whole nother level, which is why I'm so excited about bringing my astrology reading into this is, let's ride the wave of the year, ride the wave of
Yes.
your personal year. And so I say it's your, to me, it's kind of your roadmap for the year. But now I
Mhm.
feel like, the astrology piece of that is, I don't know how I would, the analogy I would use, but I feel like I don't know, maybe it's the GPS or something that
It
goes with
is like a GPS. That's
yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah, that would make sense because it's the stars. Yeah. So that's really exciting. So I want to just talk about a few things that you brought up. So just so everyone knows, I had booked a reading with Holly, but it was going to be after this, and I was really hoping to do it before. So the stars aligned.
Mhm.
And I had my reading last week. And so there were a few things that came up in that I thought would be really fun to kind of unpack and go into a little bit. But before, and I'll share my chart in a little bit and we'll do that. But a couple things that I wrote down, because again, when something hits me, I write it down. This is your full story for life. And no two people have the same chart, and you're not going to see the chart again for 25,000 years. So tell us about that. Let's unpack that a little bit.
So first of all, let me back up a little tiny bit. There are thousands of different types of astrology. I happen to be an evolutionary astrologer, which is very different. There's humanistic astrology, there's traditional astrologers, there's Hellenistic astrology. Like there are thousands, and I happen to be an evolutionary. And so, as an evolutionary astrologer, we believe in past lifetimes. So we believe the whole
Mm.
point in coming is to actually evolve. You know, that's why people come to see you for your readings, right? To how do I evolve from here? How do I get from, point A to point B? How do we evolve? Well, it's kind of like building a house. Would you actually build a house without a blueprint? Oh, here's some wood. Let me see now. Where would I put that? That's not how it goes. So, as an evolutionary astrologer, we believe that before coming to Earth, we make our whole entire plan. So, we get together with God or the universe or spirit guides, guardian angels, whatever your personal belief system is. And that whole plan gets all put together. We look at lessons it didn't get from the last lifetime. So we got to write those in. Look at the lessons that we've come to work our way with mom and dad and sisters and brothers and kids and spouse and friends and neighbors. So we write all those in. But now we got to determine, how can I be that best possible person to actually make that happen? So as an evolutionary astrologer, we believe we choose our birth date. We choose our birthplace. We choose our birth time, and we always choose our birth parents. And that sets up, that date, that timing sets up a complete alignment in the sky. When we're born, we take our first breath, we suck up the whole entire alignment, and that becomes us. So we say, well, how many other people are like us? How many other people in that exact hospital at that exact moment is giving birth? That's how many people are like you.
Oh, interesting. And just to hit that point home, because people celebrate New Year's babies born January 1st, right? The first baby, how many are there? Not very many. So I just thought that would be really
exact
cool.
Location.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So very cool.
Because location makes a big difference. Let's say I'm born at 1:00 on January 1. You got somebody in Halifax, somebody in Moncton, somebody in Sydney. They've got different locations because say somebody born in Moncton might be closer to Venus. Somebody born in Halifax might be closer to Jupiter. Right. Somebody born in Sydney may be closer to, Uranus or whatever.
Interesting. Fascinating. So I'm just going to see who. So by the way, for those watching, if you have a question, you want to share something based on what we're talking about, please do. I do see some shares here, so I'm just going to go in and share them. I won't see your name unless you allow StreamYard to see it. So I see that Alma got that figured out. Thank you, Alma. So, and Alma says, I've allowed that before, but just oh, that is about StreamYard. Okay, I thought that was a question. Yeah, you're good. You're in there. So awesome. So so that's how it works. So if you did leave a comment, I can bring you up and we can see who you are. So please feel free to do that. And yeah, so let's keep going on this conversation because I'm really enjoying it. Now, I'm wondering if some of these questions I think are going to relate when I share my chart. So I'm wondering if maybe I should bring that up and then we'll continue the conversation because it'll be interesting visually to see it.
And I'm sure there's perhaps a lot of people who've never seen a chart. They may look at the horoscope, and I hear this all the time. If I'm at a party, somebody says, oh, what do you do? And I say, I'm an astrologer. And they say, well, I don't believe in that. And that's okay. That's perfectly okay. But I say, well, what do you know about it? And they say, well, I read my horoscopes every day and they don't match. And I go, that's correct. They don't match. Most times horoscopes in the newspapers are not even written by astrologers. They're written by, it's your turn this week to write the horoscopes, or it's your turn this week to write the horoscopes. That's why horoscopes in the paper don't work, number one. And number two, there are no two Tauruses alike, no two Geminis alike, no two Sagittarius alike. How can you write a one daily thing that fits everybody?
Yeah, I've always wondered that because I'm like, we're all so different. Yeah, we're the same sun sign, but we're not all going through exactly the same thing because we're all Taurus or.
That's right.
Yeah. So that I love that you brought that up about horoscopes. So I am going to bring my screen up. I'm hoping. I've only done this a few times on StreamYard, so hopefully this will all work perfectly and seamlessly because we want the stars to align. So let me
we can try it.
So let me go find it. So it is going to. I just need to figure out. Oh, it's in images. Okay. Then it should be there, and it's not there. And we're gonna go over here. Okay. All right. Well, just give me a second. I've got it up, and Will it not let me share an image? Let me try one more. This one. Nope.
I have it here too. If you
Yeah, you know what? Are you able to share from? It won't let me share an image. Now I can go pop it in a document, and then I'm thinking it will let me do that. But if you have it and it lets you share,
well, I
weird.
don't see here where it would allow me to
Oh,
share my
I got it.
screen.
Nope,
Okay.
I got it. Yeah, I just had to expand the screen.
Oh, there
Um,
we go.
yeah.
There's your chart.
So now I just need to get back to us. So, okay, good.
Oh,
So,
I can
um,
see you and I.
awesome, perfect. So we can see each other, we can see that, and then I'm just double checking on Facebook. So just type in the chat for those you there. Just let us know you can see the screen. I know it's a little bit of a delay, so I think it just popped up there. All right, awesome. So this is my chart. So so Holly brought this up, and I went, "Holy crap!" So I'm sure that's a response that you get from most people. So I'm just going to let you just give us a general overview of what this is. And I'm just going to throw a few bugs in your ear because you talked about some things. Jenna says, I see it. Thank you, Jenna. I just want to show you, everyone how this works. So actually, I guess I already did that, but Jenna, there. Jenna, I see it. No, you came up. Oh, there's a delay now, probably because I'm sharing my screen. Hi, Jenna. I just want to bring you up here. So I'm going to throw a few bugs in your ears for some things that, as you talked about them, my mind went, oh my gosh, what is she talking about? So North Node and South Node. So I'm going to kind of throw that out there. And I think everybody kind of generally knows moon sign, sun sign, rising sign. By the way, if you
But they
know
may not
what
know what it connects to.
no, and perfect. So I was going to say, anyone who's watching this, if you know what your moon, sun, or rising signs are, post them in comments just so we know what you are, and Holly will help make that connection. Take it away, and then we'll see where we go with this conversation.
So for those of you who may not have ever seen a chart before, the line, and I guess you can't see my mouse going across the line,
No,
can you?
I'll have to be your lovely assistant. So you just tell me where
Okay.
you need me to
All
go.
right. So the line going straight across the very center, that is the
Right there.
horizon line. So if you look at your watch and you see where the 9 is on your watch, that's the ascendant line. So when we look at the chart on the screen, that shows 16 degrees Cancer, 41 minutes. Astrology is written in 12 houses. So under that line coming down, that's the first house. Underneath that is the second. Underneath that is the third. Underneath that is the fourth. Underneath, and so we come up the other side now. So when I talk about the various houses, that's what I'm talking about. So when we look at a chart, and this is another question that I get a lot. What is our sun sign in a chart? Do other people see our sun sign? No, they don't. Our sun sign in our chart is the answer we give. If you were walking down the road and somebody said, what sign are you? And you said Gemini or Sagittarius or Taurus, or what you're saying is my sun sign is that. So what
Mm-hmm.
is our sun sign? Well, as you can see in Marianne's chart there, the sun sign sits in the 11th house. So it's kind of up there in the top left-hand corner. And it sits there at 15 degrees Taurus, 18 minutes. Now,
What does that mean?
yep. So every sign has 30 degrees. So when her sun sign is at 15 degrees, she's halfway through the sign,
Ah.
right? Whereas when we look in our 12th house, that's Venus, that's the green colored one there. Her Venus is at 25 degrees Gemini, 46 minutes. So let's come back to what is our sun sign? Our sun sign is who we are when we are by ourselves. So really that's the true inner core to us. Now, you can see her sun sign is at 15 degrees Taurus. So what are some, you look at what are some keywords connected around Taurus? Well, Taurus is an earth sign. That's a practical sign. They like the texture of things. If you go into a store and you see somebody going around and smelling all the bottles and feeling all the material, you can pretty much guarantee that that individual is a Taurus. That's a true sign. Taurus likes practical things. They often work in the banking industry on mundane astrology, which is world astrology. The sign of Taurus has to do with our banking industry. So lots of Taurus work in banks. And the Taurus is the surety of things. They don't particularly like to take a whole lot of risks. They like to have the surety of how things are. So, and they're often very financially conscious. They're not going to spend their money really frivolously. And when I teach astrology, I talk about Taurus. I say, if you had $100 and you gave $100 to a Gemini, they're probably going to go out and buy 10 things at $10. If you give the $100 to a Virgo, they're going to buy 4 things at $25. If you're going to give $100 to a Taurus, you're going to spend that $100 on something that's going to last for a long time and look good the whole way through. Now, we said there's no 2 Tauruses alike in the world, no 2 Geminis, no 2 Sagittarius. But we all then question, how do we all deal with emotion? No 2 Tauruses feel alike. We got to come back to the chart, because remember, when we did our original breath, we sucked in that whole chart. So we cannot be somebody any different than that chart. And let me tell you something. I've been doing charts since the very early part of the 1990s. Charts don't lie. People lie to themselves all the time. Charts never lie. So we come back and we look into the chart to see what sign the moon was in order to determine how we actually deal with emotions.
And I assume that's a little blue moon right here.
That's right. That's the little blue moon up there in the 10th house at 11 degrees Aries, 4 minutes. Now, Aries, then we got to look at some keywords to Aries. Well, Aries are the people, if you know any Aries, they're the first one out of the gate. They're the head of the pack. They want to be ahead. They are the leaders. They're the first sign in the whole entire zodiac. And so looking at Marianne, how does she deal with emotions? She's action oriented. She's not going to sit down and wait for somebody else to solve it or look after it or take care of it. She's going to jump on it. And she's going to automatically be set in motion there, probably while everybody else sits and tries to figure out what to do with it. She's already gone. She's already out there. So we all need to know, most all of us know our sun sign, but we all need to know our moon sign. And then the third part we really need to know is our ascendant or rising sign, because the sign that's coming up over the horizon at the moment of our birth is actually the face we show the world. And that's why I say people don't see our sun sign. And as you can see in her chart, it's Cancer. 16 degrees Cancer, 41 minutes. That's the sign that's straight out there to the left-hand side of the chart.
Oh, right here.
So people see her as a Cancerian. And that is determined all by time of birth. Cancerians is like the motherhood, mothership, mothering, mother connection, mother, so on. And people who see Marianne, they see that mothering side to her. She is the person you're going to want to talk to if you're upset or you're concerned. If you just broke up with somebody, and you go see her, she's going to put a blanket around you. She's probably going to feed you. That's what Cancerians do best. They feed you with cookies and tea and so on. And she will sit with you, and the patience. Nobody has patience like Cancerians have patience. Trust me. And is she a Cancerian? No, she isn't a Cancerian, but that is how everybody else sees her. So often when I'm at a party, somebody says, "Oh, you're an astrologer. What sign do you think I am?" And my answer is, I have no idea. Because if she was at a party and she asked me that, and I said, "Oh, you must be a Cancer," she's not. She's not a Cancer. She's a Taurus. So I usually actually say, "Give me a few minutes. Let me observe you from afar a little bit. And once I've observed you from afar, I can nail you with regards to what your sun sign is."
Interesting. Wow, so fascinating. So if anyone has any questions on that, please ask. I do hear a little bit of feedback. So do you hear that, Holly?
I do hear a little bit of feedback. Yeah.
Okay. For those of you watching, just let me know if that's oh my gosh. See, I'm in La La Land. I can't speak anymore. Let me know if that's taking away from the interview. I can't come up with the word. Distracting. There it is. Let me know if that's distracting, and I'll put a headset on. But I think it kind of comes and goes. So that was just fascinating to me. And I mean, I've already heard it, and it was still fascinating to me the second time. I feel like I could just hear you say that 100 times, and it would be as fascinating. So I'd love to know what those listening think about that. Let me know. How does that resonate? And hearing feedback almost like an echo, Alma said. Okay, so I might pop my headset on here a moment, just see if it takes that away. So we talked about moon sign, sun sign, rising sign. Again, I've heard those before. I understood them a little bit, but I just find that you just explained that so incredibly well in the way that I've never heard that explained. So thank you for that. And one of the things you talked about in my chart are north nodes and south nodes. So I'd love it if you would share a bit about that piece.
So that is a really big evolutionary astrologer mindset. I mean, North Node and South Node, all astrologers work with that and deal with that. But so if we look up in the 11th house, we saw the sun sign there, but let's go 2 over.
Down or up?
Up. So it actually is like that little purple. It's actually the dragon's head.
Okay.
At 6 degrees Taurus. And that's the north node. And then always straight across from the north node, of course, is the south node, north and south. So could we, if we had a telescope, for instance, could we look up and go, "Oh, there's north node and there's south node"? No, there is no such thing as an actual planetary alignment. The north node and the south node has to do with how the moon in the sky hits the ecliptic. And that gets too technical to go into here. But in our chart, the north node shows our purpose in this particular lifetime. The south node, straight across from it, so the south node is exactly what we've spent a lot of time doing in the lifetime previous. Now, when I do life coaching, there's a lot of work that is done on the north node and the south node. Why? The south node is our place of comfort. Done it before, did it in other lifetimes before. It's a comfortable place to be. Makes the most sense that that's where we would hang out. Not what you come to do in this lifetime.
So can I pop in and just share, because I noted that some of the things you told me about that, what I came here to do, what my past lives, and some of the
Yes.
revelations I've had around that. Okay.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
all right. So one of the things that came up in the reading, this is what so you guys all know that I do yearly intention readings. It's about aligning with the energy of the year and aligning with your personal year. And this just took that to a whole nother level. And so one of it, because it gave me so much insight on really, why I'm here and what I'm doing. And it helped me make sense of a lot of things. So my purpose in the past, and you might add to it, I'll probably do a very
Sure.
rudimentary explanation. But my purpose in the past was family. And so when you were talking about that, when I was listening to the recording, it was like, that, family and stay at home mom, and you'd be there. And then you were like, not this lifetime. Like, that's not happening this lifetime. You need to be in the public eye. You need to be doing things. You need to be teaching. Right. So,
Yes.
so that was the difference between what would have happened in a previous lifetime versus this lifetime. Correct.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
people
just
struggle with that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just out of curiosity, do we carry some energy of our past lifetime with us? Is that what you mean by that's comfortable?
Well, we have to think about the soul we have today is the same soul we have had throughout all of the same lifetimes. We carry the same soul. So
Yeah. And I'm a huge believer of that.
all of the knowledge we've learned before, like I've done medical astrology in many, many other lifetimes. Do I do it in this lifetime? I'm in the process of learning it. So you still have to relearn it. Um,
Mm.
but the soul remembers. That's perhaps when I talked about doing that exam, that astrology exam. It wasn't this lifetime I got those answers. The soul remembers.
Mm. Oh, I like that. And that does answer my question. I switched headsets. Can you let me know if that's any better or worse? It's still good. You can hear me okay, Holly?
I can, yes, not a problem. Yeah.
Okay. And for those, Alma, let me know if you're still getting feedback. So I like that you said that, because when I was re-listening to it and I was thinking about what you told me this time, I could see that. Like, I could see how the energy of that would come in and interfere with you, living your soul's purpose this life and really stepping fully into that. So I think that's what you're saying, right? It's that
Correct.
residual energy. It's comfortable. It's there. It's not going to like completely go away just because we're in a different lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
You
that's
you
also
told
too,
yeah,
sorry, that's also
no, you
too
go ahead.
sometimes why we go through, sometimes we feel, Scorpios have just had a very interesting year because South Node has been traveling through the sign of Scorpio for the last year and a half to 2 years. And we've
Mm,
seen Scorpio go through some very in depth grief over the last 1.5 to 2 years. And I think, if they step back, they may be able to go, no, why is it like I haven't had anyone pass and I didn't go through divorce? But the soul remembers. And if, let's just say,
mm,
let's just pull this out of the air, because at 40 years of age, in the lifetime previous, you went through a major, maybe, your family got killed or something. At 40 years of age in this particular lifetime, then the soul goes, oh, at 40 years of age, that's right. Yeah, we go through a massive grief. But there's no logic. The soul does not recognize different lifetimes because the
mm.
soul is continuous. When we die, when the physical body dies, the soul don't die. It just goes on to another plane in order to wait to come back to evolve again.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'd love to know what everyone's sun signs are. So post that in the chat so we know what everybody is here. And the other, so one of the other things I was going to share around this is that you said to me in the reading, like, you don't do well being bored. And I laughed and I said, I don't even know what bored is, first of all, because I can't remember the last time I was bored. And even it's funny because I was doing something this weekend and I was just chilling. And by chilling, I was, laying on my meditation massage table, I don't know, responding to emails or something. And, and I'm like, I always do that. I mean, I'm watching TV and I'm multitasking. So, because I get bored watching TV, so I do
Mhm.
something else. But the big thing that came out of that is I was looking back at my career, and I had left my job, goodness gracious, back in the late 90s, because I was bored. Like, it was the biggest example of that I was like, oh yeah, I can totally see that. Like, I became incredibly bored at my job. I was doing the same thing all the time. There really wasn't anything new happening, and it was repetitive, and I hated it. Just so didn't fit me. So, it was just interesting to make that connection.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Jenna, yes, I do. So Jenna asked, "Do you mean Pisces?" Sorry, don't understand any of this, way over my head. Yeah, so your sun sign would be what you identify as. So if you looked up your horoscope, it's the one you would choose looking up your horoscope, right? Holly, is that a good way to
That's
say that?
correct. Yeah.
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 So yeah, so you are Pisces. And Helena and Sharon, because you guys are in the studio, um, you're not on the Facebook Live, I don't think. So I don't know if you can comment and we can see your comments. So if you can, just post something somewhere so I can see if I can see it, because I see you're there. Yeah, so I just thought it'd be interesting to know what everybody's signs are. And just as you talk about them, it'd be interesting to relate them. Um, why don't we? I'd really like to talk. So this is a phrase that I know that you guys are going to. Oh, I just want to see who this is. So someone posted, my son is Taurus, but I can't. Oh, Pauline. Hi, Pauline. I can't see your name yet. You have to click on that StreamYard links, but I'm cheating. I'm looking over at Facebook. So, all right. So I got another Taurus. That actually explains a lot. And Alma, I definitely identify with Pisces. Okay, so I'm curious to know what that means. That does that mean you are a Pisces, or you just identify with that sign? I don't know if you have a question on that, Holly.
Well, Pisces, it's an interesting. We've got some alignments coming up, and Pisces is the most intuitive sign in the whole entire zodiac. There are pros and there are cons in every single sign. I'm an
There she
Aquarius.
says,
I see all
I
kinds
am a
of
Pisces.
signs. Ah, and so, Pisces is entering right now in the sky. If we were to look up into the sky, we've got the sign of Saturn coming towards the sign of Pisces. Now, that was also there in the early part of the 1990s. So, for some of you
Mm.
who are a little older than that 30 years, you could go back to some of those early 1990s and recognize that you're going to revisit some of those exact same situations that took place. Pisces, as I said, is the most intuitive sign. They have the ability to channel. They have the very creative. They're often are artistic people as well.
Mm.
And with Saturn, over the next 2 years, so the planets continue to move around. I mean, they don't just go boom and stay right where they are. So they continue to move around. Saturn on the 8th of March, Saturn is going to start to make a journey through the sign of Pisces. It'll go through there for all of 2023 and all of 2024. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on our Pisces friends, and especially for anybody who has sort of been keeping their intuition down, for people who are afraid of that intuition. Um, One of the big things is Saturn's going to kind of push you about out of that comfort zone. So good luck with that.
Mm.
Uh, or if, many of you, especially our Pisces friend here, if any of you have, played musical instruments in your younger years, you're going to start to find that with Saturn going into Pisces, it's going to say, come on, get that creative musician, artistic side to you. Come on, let's get going. And that'll be a big
Interesting.
push, big push for our Pisces friends.
Okay, that's very cool. And again, that's that in alignment thing. So when you kind of understand what's happening, that's what I love about card readings, and just the because I do 30-minute guidance readings with certain members, and I love it because it keeps them on track for the year. Like again, it's like that guiding map. So you're going through and you're in flow and you're making
Right.
decisions and you're understanding why stuff is happening. Because otherwise, we just go through the year and it's like, but I want to get this really big project off the go and I'm frustrated and I'm banging my head. Well, it's because it's not going to work, or it's not going to work this year, or it's not working. I mean, you take it again to that, you break it down very much into the months and the days and everything like I'm so excited to do that reading with you where I lay out each month. I think that will be fascinating. I just want to let those on StreamYard know that now that Helena left and went over on Facebook, I found the private chat. So I can't show them, but I have found it. So can you see me, Helena? Yes. Hi, Sharon. And then Sharon said, Moon in Taurus, Sun in Scorpio, rising in Gemini. So obviously, Sharon, you have a knowledge of those three for yourself.
Which
And
is very interesting, if I could stop there, because
yeah,
Moon and Scorpio are opposite to each other.
okay.
So when we have our sun sign and our moon sign opposing each other, we always have a problem between our head, the sun sign, and our heart.
Ah.
And there's always a challenge that comes in there. That rising in Gemini says that you're a chatterbox, that you like things to keep moving, and what's good today is not good tomorrow. And if you're at a party, as long as people are talking about, boats and trains and airplanes, you're there. But as soon as the conversation gets a bit boring, boom, you're gone. I'm done.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Love it. Okay. And Natalie is here, and she is a Capricorn. So, and I think Natalie's joining us afterwards for the Q&A. So it'll be fun. We can dive a little deeper into some of these as well, which would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. How are we doing time? Good. So I think where I'd like to, and again, if anyone has a question for Holly, just post it, not so much specifically about your signs per se, but just astrology in general. We'll get into the personal stuff afterwards. Retrograding planets. Everybody hears retrograde, retrograde. What does that mean? And they're all confused, and maybe some people understand and then other people just take shelter. So tell us about retrograding planets.
So as I said a little bit earlier, the planets continue to move on around. Just because we're born, they don't stop. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there who feel the whole world has stopped because they're born. But no, the planets continue to move. And as they move, they all move at a different rate. So the sun makes it around that whole circle once a year. Mercury and Venus makes it around that whole chart once a year. Jupiter takes 12 years to make it around. Saturn takes 30 years to make it around. Pluto takes 265 years to make it around. So everything is all on a different trajectory. And sometimes I think that's what makes astrology a little difficult. And so what happens is that, so here is the Earth. We'll call this the Earth. The planets move around. Now, they don't go around in a circle like that. They actually go, it's almost like an oval is how they go along. And so as they come by the Earth, they become very close. They come closer to the Earth than if they were out here on the trajectory of going around. And as they come by the Earth, to the naked eye, if we were able to look up there, the planet appears to be going backwards. It's an optical illusion, but it's the appearance. And it's the same way. Let's get a different analogy here. If you've got two cars at a stoplight, the light turns green, this car takes off. if you actually look out your window, this car on the side of you appears to be going backwards. Again, it's an optical illusion. So it means that when the planets are coming very close, ecliptic wise, when they come very close to the Earth, it makes them very loud. They're very noisy. And so everybody talks about a Mercury retrograde. Mercury is our planet of communication. And so it's kind of like, for those of you who live in the Halifax area, it's kind of like trying to write a contract at home versus sitting at the Micmac Mall in the food court trying to write a contract. You just don't, in Micmac Mall, in a food court, or in any mall, I guess, in a food court, it's very noisy, it's very distracting. That's what happens when Mercury retrogrades. And that's what happens when astrologers say, be really careful what you sign during a Mercury retrograde. That is the reason why.
Okay. I love the way you explain things. I love the visuals and the analogies you use. I find those so effective. It's like they're planted in my brain now, and I'm going to remember them. So very cool. I'm just popping over to the comments. So Helena, I see your comment that you can't see or hear anything. So I don't know if you were coming in when I was switching over the audio. Hopefully that's okay for you now. If not, just go back into the studio. I did figure out where the comments are. And Alma, I see your note that you want to join for the Q&A, but you can't get in. Don't worry. When we stop going live, I'll message you and send you the link. And we have a question for Holly. So let me get into my comments here.
Yeah, before I go there, I'm happy to answer that. But before I go there, I want to go back to that retrograding planet thing again.
Oh, yes.
In our natal chart, like you have up on here, in the third house, so near the very bottom, we've got two planets that have the little RX there. Yes. And we've got the RX in the fourth house, and we got two RXs in the fifth house. So down near the bottom of the chart.
Retro. Oh, I see the little. Oh, those are the retro. Right. So is it normal? Right. And is it normal they'd like all be together in a little clump like that, or is that just me?
Every chart is different. Every single chart is different. But retrograding planet says, remember when I talked about before coming to Earth and you sat with God, universe, angels, all kinds of stuff, put your plan together. They would have said, okay, now, just because we write lessons in our chart doesn't mean say we get them. Sometimes we can be kind of dumb here on Earth. We humans can be a little dumb. We're way smarter before we come to Earth, trust me. And so the universe then says to us, what lessons do you want to write in that you didn't get last time along? Because remember, we're all trying to evolve. We're all trying to become better people in life. And retrograding planet says, damn it, this is my second time around because it just went right over my head last time around. Well, let me tell you something. You didn't get it last time. You will. Oh, you will get it this time around. The universe will not allow you to rewrite it in again. So those particular lessons are like, boom.
I was going to say, Natalie, are you listening? Because that's the cosmic 2x4 that has been hitting you between the eyes for the past few months.
Yeah. And so it really, is like right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. And then, and just before I jump back to Alma's question, so these are the retrograding planets at the time I was born, which gives me insight into what those things are that I will be overcoming this year. But then as we move
through
my lifetime, sorry. Right. And then we have the retrograding planets that come up, in cycles that impact how we process things and how we do things and our energy. And yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everything all interweaves and interacts, right?
Natalie's rolling on the floor laughing because that all resonates with her completely. So
yeah, Capricorns have been having an interesting time.
Okay, well, we're going to get into that in the Q&A in a second because that girl, you have been having an interesting time. I'm going to bring Alma's question back up.
Sorry.
And thank you, Alma, for asking this question because this is exactly what happened to me. And then I'll just share a little bit of the story and I'll turn things over to Holly. When I went to her originally, I didn't know my time of birth. And then some years ago, I got some stuff from my mom, and lo and behold, what did I find? Something with my time of birth. So I thought this would be really cool for me to do this again. Well, so I did my reading last week with Holly, which was amazing, and I thought, gee, I wonder where the CD went from the previous one in 2016 because it would have been CD, I assume. But apparently, I also recorded it on my phone. So I'm scrolling through my phone, and what do I see? Astrology reading 2016. I'm like, well, that's the readings. This was like 3 days ago. So I listened to it before the show, and we started off with I had muscle tested to try to get an idea of when my time of birth was before seeing you. You used your pendulum, and when we came together, we were both between. So my time of birth is 9:55. We were both from 10 to 11. Like we both had come in that range, which I thought was just really fascinating and amusing to me. And the reading then was very bang on to the reading that I just had. So two things. We're going to talk about how important it is to know your time of birth because it's important. And in that, I'd also like Holly to explain what a natal chart is.
So how important is it? It is very important, actually. The time of birth, every 4 minutes can change that chart massively. And so I get it that there's lots of people that do not know their time of birth. Sometimes you can connect with the hospital and they will have your records. If somebody says to me, I have absolutely no idea, sometimes I will say, do you have an older sibling that maybe could even help us a little bit by saying, oh, yeah, I remember Dad said, oh, like mom's having this baby and I'm not getting my supper. Like that would at least give us again a bit of a timing. And in astrology, there is something called rectification, where you're able to ask questions to individuals and you can transition the chart. Because this is not an astrology mindset, and let me tell you, astrologers have come down hard on me on this because I use a pendulum. I've done energy work, pendulum work for years and years and years. That is not an astrology mindset, by the way. They are scientifically based, and that's the science. But I will tell you, over all of these years, I have used the pendulum. And, just like Marianne had said, we came in relatively close. I mean, we had a 24-hour window there, and we were within an hour.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What majorly changes is you see every hour, like just as we see her chart there, that's it at that hour. So give it another hour and everything shifts.
I'm still listening, but my dog is at the door and he wants to be a part of this discussion. So the natal chart is, as the name implies, come on in. The natal chart is at the time of birth, right? So
That
it's
is
kind of your
exactly it. And
original
that is your
chart.
blueprint. That is
Yeah.
your absolute blueprint. And, different situations with the chart. I did a chart reading with a lady the other day, and there are different aspects within the chart. And sometimes when people put the sign of Neptune in their first house, they have no idea who they are. And that is a common thing. And I work a lot with them. And I tell them, it's probably you're trying to live up to mom's expectations, dad's expectations, and then you get married and you're trying to live up to hubby's expectations or wife's expectations. So let's just zero it down and figure out, who are you? That's what we want to know.
Love it. So we are at the top of the hour. So I think that we are going to we're going to wind things down so we can go into our private Q&A. I just was going to grab your your website so I can put it in the comments so everybody has it. So maybe you could tell us about the type of readings, because I know when I went to book the readings, and actually before I do that, sorry, I'm going to come back to that. Just because this is a question I asked you, and I'm just going to ask it because everyone's looking at the chart before I take the chart away. I wondered why I had a lot of activity here, but I had like these empty spaces. And can you just speak to that? Because I was like, is
Sure.
there a whole piece of my life that's void?
Yes. So we look at the quadrants within the chart. And just so you know, you may have been moving your mouse around, but we've not been able to see the mouse on the screen. So,
Oh, I
um,
didn't know that. So thank you.
but you can see that her top quadrant is really quite full. The very first quadrant, so
Now
that
can you see it?
houses, no, that's houses 1, 2,
Oh,
and 3. So the bottom slice, there's not entirely a lot there. Oh, now I see it. Yep. Then
okay,
the
good.
quadrant 4, 5, and 6, there's not a lot there. But you can see 7, 8, and 9 is completely empty. I'll talk about that in 1 second. But 10, 11, and 12 is completely massively filled. So the fourth quadrant, which is 10, 11, 12, the fourth quadrant is all about our career world, what we're doing, the connection with why we are here. I mean, that's a major, major, major focus for her in this particular lifetime. The 7, 8, and 9 has to do with partnerships and relationships in general. Now, because it's empty, obviously does not mean she does not have relationships. That doesn't mean that. But it means it's not meant to be her major focus in life. That's not where it comes from. The quadrant underneath that, so the 4, 5, and 6, that has to do with our family, the family unit, like mom, dad family, our kids' family. So you can see her retrograding, all her planets in there are retrograding, which says they are big, huge past life lessons she didn't get before, and they're all centered around the whole family bit.
Mm.
And then the 1, 2, and 3, that's all about me, you, who I am, what I'm all about, and so on. And if I remember correctly, way back in 2016, I think I might have mentioned to you then very much about the spirituality and the getting involved with the
Yes.
intuition. And I think you kind of sort of shut that down a bit right at that particular point in time because you were very much in your corporate world. But
Yeah.
again, those are the two retrograding planets there by the IC line, the line going straight down the bottom.
Mm. Great. Thank you so much. So in case anyone was wondering that. And so tell us about the different types of readings you have, because I know when I went on your site, there were various different readings that I wasn't sure what they all meant. And I'm putting your website in here so that everybody will have it. And I'm going to take that chart away. So yeah, there we go.
So everybody needs a natal chart reading. Doesn't have to be with me, it can be with any astrologer, but everybody needs to know your natal chart reading. Everybody needs to know the core of who you are. That is your number one starting point. After that, on a yearly basis, you need to see an astrologer, roughly then around your birthday. And then I wouldn't go over your natal chart anymore. I would actually then go over that particular month, the next month, the month after, and so on. And we would look at your whole upcoming year. Now, on my website, that's called a refresh, where you would refresh it from
Mm.
the years gone by.
Okay.
And I do compatibility, I do synastry astrology, which has to look at relationships. We'll just use husband and wife just for, can be any relationships really. But I do need the permission of both people. I will never do the chart of somebody who is 16 and older without their permission. for me personally, that's an ethics issue.
Mm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I was intrigued by the different readings. I'm just on your site as we're talking. So the natal one, the child astrology, the synastry astrology. So that's the one that you're talking about with
Relationships, yeah,
relationships. Yeah, and then vocational astrology, which focuses more on your job and what you're doing. Correct?
where you best fit, like from a work perspective.
Yes. And then you also do tarot readings, you do
I do.
astrology classes.
Hmm.
And what seasons of your life? Tell me what that
Seasons of
means.
your life is actually soul coaching.
Okay.
And that's entirely connected directly to your chart personally. So I then set up every 6 or 8 weeks. And again, that has to do with the transitioning of the sun around the chart.
Mhm.
Because for everybody, at our birthday is our personal spring. That so if you think about what does a farmer do at the spring? He or
Mm,
she sets in seeds. We set in seeds around our birthday.
right.
And 6 months later, then we reap exactly what we sowed at our birthday.
Okay, that's very cool. I've never actually heard it put like that before. And I feel like that ties a little bit into the like numerology in your year,
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
know those energies come in on your birthday and
Right,
continue
that's
through.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fascinating. Okay, well, what one piece of advice would you give someone wanting to understand more about astrology and their life?
Well, I think one of the big things they need to find an astrologer they trust, that they really do connect with, to help them to navigate
Mm,
where they're going and how they're going to get there. As we said at the beginning, how something starts is how something finishes. And when you start something on a bit of a negative basis due to planetary alignment, it's likely it won't work.
mm, love that. Well, I'm so happy to be reconnected with you. You're my gal. You're not going anywhere. So, um, just saying. So, thank you so much for being here with us, for sharing this with us. It's a fascinating topic. It's so deep, it's so vast. There's so much to learn. And you just beautifully did that in such a beautiful, succinct way. So appreciate that. So I'm going to post in the comments when we're done. I'll make sure everybody has Holly's contact info. They're scrolling at the bottom. I did put the website link in there, so you should have everything you need, but I'll put an additional comment in afterwards as well. And so this ends the live part of this. So I'm going to end the broadcast now, and then I'm going to just reopen this privately for those that want the private Q&A. If you have the link, just click it. You'll be there. I'll let you in just a moment. If you don't, just message me on Messenger. I'll copy the link there and give it to you. Again, thank you so very much, Holly. Don't go away. You're going to see an outro screen pop up. I'm going to mute both of us, and
Yep.
then we'll continue in just a moment. So I'm going to go find that screen so I can actually know what I'm talking about here. All right, so that's going to pop up at the end, and I'm going to take us out of studio, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you.
All right, see you in a minute.